How's it going, guys? Welcome to VEDEM Racing. My name is Sean, and today we're going to be taking my 2004 Honda S2000 and doing the dreaded job of changing out the lower control arm bushings. Let's get to it. Alright guys, it's time to get caffeinated, and it's a little bit too early to start on some Jaeger and Red Bull, so instead, for a good substitute, we're going to get us some cold brew coffee. The lower control arm bushings, I chose to go with the Mugen hard racing bushing just because they're similar OEM design. Actually, they're pretty much the same bushing, besides they use a harder rubber. There are other options for the lower control arm bushings, but the Hallett Sport sells spherical bushings, which honestly would probably be better for track use, but they probably won't last as long as the OEM style bushing. So and there's also energy suspension as well, but I chose to go with the Mugen Racing. It's a little bit more on the pricier because you got to pay the JDM tax, but it's going to be an OEM-like bushing that should last a long time and provide a little bit more steering feel because my car's got 105,000 miles on it at this point. They're kind of worn out, so let's go ahead and get to it and check it out. So I got the passenger side lower control arm off, and if you can see here the L lower control arm bushing, the one that's notorious for going out, there's a big tear right to the bottom of it. It's kind of hard to see the other one, but the other one has a little bit of stress fractures, but it's not too bad. This is the true purpose of a splitter, to hold all your nuts and tools and whatnot. So we're looking at the lower compliance bushings on the front. Let's see if I can show you all the difference. The Mugen one is right here to your right, and the OEM one is right here to your left. And another reason, a benefit of going with the Mugen over the different ones, is that you can just push them in and push them out instead of using the energy suspension where you have to actually burn them out. Let's see if I can show you all. You see the crack right there? It's kind of hard to see. There's a big crack all the way through it. So guys, this is what happens when you drink too much coffee and you don't know your own strengths. You break lower control arms. So what actually happened was, guys, I actually pressed out the lower compliance bushing, which would sit right here, and I had to push the new Mugen in. I actually changed out the damper bushing as well, and then when I came over to this camber one, this one's actually very difficult to get to, just because normally the control arm or the lower compliance bushing sits right here. Well, to get this to mount up is very, very difficult to get on the press. So I might have did a little bit of maneuvering and might have, well, it kind of explains itself at this point. So on the passenger side, it's kind of set on hold, so I had to go ahead and order a new lower control arm. Not a new, I bought a used because I'm going to push out the old bushings and put in my new bushings. But I'm going to go ahead and get started on the driver's side, finish that up. I'm going to do the back, And then I'm going to do a little bit of stuff up front. I'm going to raise the front up maybe about 1/2 inch, just where I like it. Little adjustments what I can do in the meantime until my new control arm comes and then finish it up. You know, rookie mistakes. Learn from my mistakes and do not make the same mistake as me. Alright. Another thing I added, guys, was I added these little rock chip guards. Because with the wider front tires, running 255s up front, real sticky tires, especially the RE71s, it kinda, I've been throwing a little bit of rock chips, to be honest with you, so I went ahead and added those on there. It's a little clean design. If y'all are interested, I'm probably gonna end up buying some sheets of carbon fiber, and actually developing some of our own and sell them really cheap. So if you're interested, put a comment down below and we can go ahead and make those. Cut a piece of this off, so it cut a piece of the old bushing off. That way you can put like a socket or something to put it up against the control arm. That way it'd have enough space to support it to push it out. And that's what I'm going to do this time around instead of breaking a control arm. Sounds a little bit better. That we can brace up again, so when we're pushing this out, it'll be able to push itself out. Alright guys, all the new bushings are in. So the next piece we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and bolt up the lower control arm on the driver's side. So here's your, actually that's for the damper. So here's your old camber and caster adjusters. And so what we're going to do on those, actually, we're going to use some anti-seize back on the bolts and everything, because that way it doesn't seize up. Because I hear a lot of horror stories about these bolts in the back. Now, a lot of guys would probably recommend for you to actually change out the bolts and get all brand new hardware, but mine honestly doesn't look too bad, so I like to live on the edge. So let's anti-seize it up and bolt it back on. Alright guys, now that all the bolts are actually put into the suspension arm, you don't want to actually tighten them up all the way. What you actually want to do is you want to actually put pretty much honestly the best way to do it is you want to put the wheel on, set it down on the ground, let the suspension settle, and then you want to measure this from your fender line, so that way you can see the natural ride height. And then what you'll do is that you can put a jack underneath this lower control and push it up into the same height of the ride height, and that's when you actually torque down the suspension bolts. So that's kind of the thing. The reason is because if you, let's say I torque them up now while there's no weight on the car, when it does go in the riding position, they're going to be stressed to a certain extent, and you'll actually wear out your bushings a lot quicker. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to put some weight under the suspension arm, get it to ride height, tighten them down the torque specs. 1 chugga-chugga, 2 chugga-chugga. Actually, we'll pull out the good old torque wrench, and we'll torque them down, and this side's done. All right guys, so we buttoned up all the front, and now we're going to start on the rear, and we have a special guest.
I'm back. Ready for this episode? I came to do my specialty, the rear.
Alright John, so Ivanka, she's using no lube.
Oh, going in raw.
Take one.
Don't get too overexcited there. Oh, went a little bit too fast for Ivanka.
Gotta slow it down, slow and steady.
Making her drop her sockets. Gotta keep it nice and straight. Ivanka doesn't like it curved.
Alright.
Yeah, try and keep that as flat as possible.
You might have to at least hammer it in first just to...
Yeah, just to get it started. Alright.
See how she does.
Alright.
Oh, we made connection.
Alright.
Oh, look. Oh, man.
Oh, he's like, ugh. And you don't want to go.
Yeah, we're probably as far as we can go.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to put the receiver on the end.
Yep. And this is the one that we want to do like half and half, right? We don't want to go all the way in.
Just half and half.
Just half and half.
Just a half.
Just the tip. I'm gonna get this little guy over here.
All right. And we can.
This little jig tool. It's the official VEDEM Racing jig.
Who needs a bushing kit, man?
Yeah.
You got sockets and other stuff down in the shop.
It's a jig, not a socket.
That's how we do it in the Blue Waffle Garage. All right. We don't need no fancy bushing press or bushing set. We might have to.
Yeah, no, she's slipping. She's slipping.
Well, it's gonna bust off and hit me in the face.
Don't want Ivanka busting in your face.
No, we don't want that. Keep everything nice and clean.
You might need to. Yeah.
Oh, there she goes.
There you go. She's going. She's working herself in.
I'm trying to figure out how much room we had on each side.
You almost need to. I
think
don't.
one more pump.
Yeah.
I don't know because
I'd say half a pump.
You thinking half a pump?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, half a pump.
Half a pump.
She's a half a pump chump.
Oh. Oh. We made contact. All right. Just one little push.
Ooh, yep. That's it. Send it.
Let's check her out. Damn it.
Oh, there we go.
Look at that, guys.
Yep.
That brand new Mugen bushing. All right. That's one down and one more to go. Her backside back on.
Half her backside. Is this the left cheek or the right cheek?
This is the right cheek.
Okay. Always was my favorite.
Like the...
Kind of creamed a little bit too much there.
A little bit too much.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to put anti-seize on these.
It's always good to lube your shafts before you go in the hole.
A little bit of gold lotion.
Gold Bond. You know, it's funny because Susan has 2 holes in the rear. You've just got one big hole.
You know.
Where'd Ivanka's other hole go? It's missing. It's missing her other hole. Got her.
Find out the best way to do it.
Sometimes it takes 2 guys to get the shaft in.
2 guys and one Honda S2000. Alright guys, so we just finished up putting up all of the bushings in, pressed them in, pressed them out. It's total about 10 hours job altogether. You could knock it out in a full day if you have all the tools and maybe a bushing press. Without a bushing press, you'd probably be able to do it with a vice grip, but it would not be fun, I will say that. So,
and I was only here, unfortunately, not for the full 10 hours of fun getting to play with Ivanka. I know Susan got a little bit jealous yesterday, so I wasn't able to make it. But I at least did get to come play with Ivanka's rear end, which is my favorite rear end.
Alright guys, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take it to get in alignment tomorrow. Then after that, we might be installing some Recaro pole positions with the new PCI mounts. You'll have to tune in for next week, and we'll see.